Hello children, welcome to another episode of Social Sciences. Today we are going to talk about the desert climate. Now, what you have already learned is that there are many physical features that India has. But now we are going to talk about the world. Now when we talk about physical features, we are talking about plains, mountains, rivers, Deccan plateaus, and then also we have the desert, the Thar desert in India. Now, the question is, what are deserts? Deserts are areas which receive very little or no rain at all. They are extremely hot or cold. The land is barren and has little or no vegetation at all. Things that grow in the desert may be a date palm, that also is in an oasis, and we have the cactus that grows in the deserts. Now, how are they formed? Deserts are formed when the rain clouds are carried away by the wind. Deserts, now there are two types. One, that the rain cloud carries them away. And the second one is when the deserts are formed near mountains, where clouds rain on one side of the mountain and the other side does not get any rain. For example, Gobi Desert. Now let me show you an example of that. Now, if this is the mountain and we have a rain cloud, the rain cloud cannot go on the other side of the mountain. Let's say that this is Mount Everest. Or let us say the Himalayan range. Now what happens is, the cloud cannot go on the other side of the mountain, and so what happens, it sheds all its rain on this side of the mountain, okay? And by the time it goes to the other side, it becomes a very small cloud which does not give any rain. Now, that is how the Gobi Desert, which is on the other side of the Himalayan range, has been formed. I hope you have understood me. Just in case you haven't, let me explain one more time. Rain clouds come and they shed their rain on one side of the mountain. Why? Because they cannot go over the top. By the time they come over the top, there's hardly any moisture in it or hardly any rain, as we can say. That is how the Gobi Desert, which is in Mongolia and on the other side of the Himalayan range, was formed. Now, deserts are of two types. First type is hot deserts, like for example, the Sahara in Africa, Mojave and Great Basin in USA. Then we have the Arabian and the Thar Desert, that is in Asia, and the Australian Desert, which is definitely in Australia. Now, deserts are formed mainly between latitudes (20 and 30). Sorry, 20 and 30, 0 to 20 and 30. That means this region, which I am talking about. And over here, the same thing, This is the region. So 20 and 30. 20 and 30 degrees. Now, this is north latitude and this is south latitude. Now, cold deserts. Let's talk about the cold deserts. We have, let us say, two cold deserts in the world. First is the Gobi Desert, which is in Asia, and the Patagonian Desert, which is in South America. Deserts receive negligible rainfall, approximately 25 centimeters of rainfalls annually. Now, deserts also experience extreme climates, as high as 57.8 degrees centigrade, and low, that means very cold, at around about minus 89 degrees centigrade. Now, that is pretty cold. I guess that if you are just trying to have a cup of tea, it will freeze by the time you take it from the kettle to your cup. It will freeze in your cup. It is so cold. Now, another thing we talk about the desert climate is deserts experience such extreme type of climate. Why? First of all, due to the latitude on which they are located. Number two, direction of the wind. Number three, the extent of the mountain ranges. It depends where they are located. Number four, the main factors which give rise to deserts are, first of all, distance from the sea, and secondly, erosion. Now, how do we know what deserts are like? We know that there is a desert. Why? Because of their sandy and dry soil and sparse vegetation. Sand dunes are also the common feature of a desert. Now let us talk about the vegetation or the flora, which we say. Now, due to no rain and high temperatures, deserts have very scanty vegetation, such as, now what are the vegetations? First of all, thorny shrubs and bushes. And how do we know what they are, and desert plants known? Now, what is the difference between the desert plants and the plants that we have at home? First of all, they have very large and deep roots, number one. Number two, they have leathery leaves. The leaves are just like leather, okay, and they look as if to say they have got a wax coating. That means they are shining leaves, okay. Another thing, number three, that is, they have dry fruits, and number four is that they have spines. Spines we call big thorns, okay. Now, where are they located? They are mainly located in and around oases. Okay? Now, this is what we are talking about, the hot deserts. Okay, now we go down to the cold deserts. Cold desert, the vegetation is different. Okay? They are short shrubs, and then they have coarse grass, which is grown only in summer. Otherwise, it is barren, means nothing is over there at all, only stones and rocks. Then we have moss, heath, lichens, and a few flowering plants are around in this region. Okay, now we're going to talk about the fauna. That means animals. Now, the most well-known animal in the desert, I guess, is the camel. The camel is the symbol of the desert. It is also known the ship of the desert. Why? First of all, it can survive many days without water or food. Because in its hump, it stores fat, which it uses as energy. So therefore, it can go many, many days without food or water. Now, another amazing fact about the camel, that it can drink nearly, an ordinary camel, okay, I'm talking about an ordinary camel, can drink around about 200 liters of water or 53 gallons of water in 3 minutes. Don't you think it's amazing? Another thing, it has got padded feet. Underneath its foot, it has pads. This helps them not to feel the heat of the sand. Now, just imagine sometimes when it's a very hot day and you are running around and you are playing and suddenly you run out of the house and you run out of the cement. Can you stand there for very long? No, you can't. It's very hot. So in the same way, just imagine the desert, okay, having 53 degrees centigrade heat. So the camel, somehow or the other, adjusts its heat by the pads that it got on its feet. Not only that, it does not sink in the sand. Okay, the camel does not sink in the sand because its foot is quite broad. So therefore, what happens is when it puts its foot down, first it absorbs the heat, and secondly, it is like a sponge which absorbs, what I mean to say, it does not allow the camel to sink into the ground. Why? Because it's broad. Now, another thing about the camel, it has very hairy eyelashes to protect its eyes from small particles of sand that might be flying in the wind. So its eyes are also protected. Another funny thing, I find it funny, I don't know, is that on its nose, it's got flaps, okay? A piece of skin that covers the nostril and can open it out and close it whenever the camel wants. Why? To protect itself from sand going inside itself when there is a sandstorm or anything like that kind. Now, talking about camels, there are two types of camels. The first type is the single hump. Okay, it's got a single hump on its back. And the second one has got two humps on its back. And that is found in the cold deserts. It's known as the Bactrian camel. Okay, the one that has two humps on its back is known as Bactrian camel, and it is found usually in the cold deserts. Besides camels, what else do we find in the desert? First of all, poisonous snakes. Many different types of poisonous snakes. Scorpions, iguanas, lizards, then the hyena, foxes, and many various types, species of small animals are found in the desert. Now in the cold desert, or let's say Antarctica. Antarctica also is a desert because nothing grows over there. It's a cold desert. And over there we find the cutest member, okay, of animals, and that is the penguin. Now we are going to talk about the people of this desert region, or this dry and hot region. The desert, first of all, is very sparingly populated. Why? Because nobody wants to stay in the desert. Do you? I guess not. Anyway, the people that are mainly living in these desert regions are tribals who have settled down near oases. Okay? Now, how do they live? The main livelihood depends on livestock, like goats, camels, some species of cattle, as well as trading. Okay? They also farm dates, millet, barley. And where trading is concerned, they trade in salt, dry fruits, rugs, and carpets. You know, rugs are very beautiful. The way they make them are very, very beautiful, and they are pretty expensive too. And also the handicraft. You know, because in the desert, I guess you must be having a lot of time for them to do these sort of things. So a lot of good handicraft you can get from people that are living near the deserts or in the deserts. You know, their handicraft is really, really very beautiful. Like in India, we have the Rajasthanis. They are really good. Like even the material, the dress, the clothes, the handloom clothes that we get from Rajasthan are really very beautiful, and they are really, really good. Now, deserts, the last point, okay? Deserts are, first of all, the storehouses of fossil fuel. You know, or we can call it mineral oil, or oil, you know, which everyone in the world, we need it for our vehicles, and so on and so forth. Now, for the aeroplanes, for the ships, for the engines, no, we need oil, we need fuel. So, the deserts are a storehouse of fossil fuel. Not only that, but also natural gases. And they are huge, they are mined in huge quantities in Saudi Arabia, UAE, Kuwait, Iran, and Iraq. Now, my dear children, we have come to the end of this chapter. However, I would like you to keep in touch with me, and if there are any questions that you have, please feel free to phone me up. Besides that, I'm going to put up the pictures of all the animals, the people, everything on the PPT. Kindly watch the PPT and do your assignments joyfully. Thank you, sweethearts. Have a good day.